Hey, spiritual extremist, Dr. Lloyd-Moffett, out behind the mushroom here to give a little introduction about the module we're about to start, Asceticism. Now, to frame asceticism, you can do it a lot of different ways. As we've said before, it's basically training the body for a spiritual end. And one way to frame it, though, is they take so many of the things that normal society tells us we should cultivate and reject that. That's why they're often called renouncers. So most cultures say, get married, have children, have family. Most ascetics are celibate. Most cultures say, hey, wear some fancy grub, some fancy clothes, look good. Ascetics tend to wear something plain or even be naked. Most cultures say get a job, earn wealth. Ascetics tend to reject all traditional jobs and wealth. Most cultures say cultivate as much pleasure as you can. Ascetics tend to say that pain can be good at times. And so ascetics really renounce whatever is customary in society. Now, they can come in many different forms. And as an introduction, I have to say that, like when I lived in my monastic year up on Mount Athos, so many of them were celibate, rejecting interactions with society. These were people who might spend 40 years in a cave or in a monastery. Like this fellow, Father Stephen the Serb, he had been in a cave for some 50 years when I met him. He had ventured out twice in those 50 years, but he spends all his day praying. In fact, while conversing with him, it was hard because he would kind of have this conversation with himself that constantly involved prayer. But it's not just in Christianity, it's also in Hinduism. Like this fellow who I spent a day with, who lived up in this sort of tree house thing. It was difficult to communicate because his English wasn't good and my Hindi was not good either. But he spent his entire life in this little hut dedicating himself to Shiva. And there are so many different monks and monasteries from Buddhist, Christian, Hindu traditions, Taoist traditions. And so what this module is about is trying to make sense of people who go to such extremes spiritually in ways that involve their body. We're going to begin by looking at the actual causing physical pain or discomfort to your body. Then we'll look at celibacy. Then we'll look at solitude and rejection. Then we'll look at people who really sort of court social hatred upon themselves. Then we will look at group ascetics, those who want to restart society. And then finally, we will look at women and asceticism because it is a very distinct category. So, get ready. It's a pretty fun ride, full of interesting things, and we'll start right now with lesson 1.